Hello again, this is Carmen Proctor from ShareRounds. This is a second video in a series of demos that explain the features and benefits of our application. In the first video, we reviewed the screens that allow the physicians to enter the diagnosis and billing codes and related visit notes necessary for hospital charge capture. In this video, we will go over the screens in the web application designed for use by the billing and support staff of a medical practice. ShareRounds was designed to be intuitive and simple to use, as well as customizable for each practice. In the system administration screens, we set up each practice to manage their own users, hospitals, billing, and diagnosis codes. In addition, the support staff will have the capability to add patients to a list for a specific hospital, so the physicians can have a complete list for rounds. Finally, the billing report will allow for getting the information necessary to bill for the hospital rounds. Let's take a look at these screens. Let's assume that your practice is newly set up in ShareRounds and it needs to be populated with users, hospitals, and the other fields that will become the drop-downs in the application. To do that, we will click on System Admin and review these screens. Here, an administrator would be able to add or edit information for any of these fields. Let's review them one by one. The first field is the users. So in this screen, we would be able to set up the doctors who are going to be using the application and the billers, as well as the administrators for the application. As you can see, we already have some data in here. This screen will be set up the first time when you begin using ShareRounds, but you can come back here anytime to change the information related to these users. So as you can see, you would fill out the user's first name, last name, provide a username for them. You would enter a password twice to confirm it's been set up correctly. We're also requesting that you include email and contact phone, which for the doctors especially will show up in the practice calendar. And then you may want to add any user notes that would be necessary for your practice, such as if somebody works only on a temporary basis, on a half-time basis, it would be useful to have any information in here related to their schedules. For every user, they need to be assigned a user role. For this user in particular, they've been set up as a doctor, but you will have the same fields to fill out and assign somebody to be a biller to run the billing report, or a site administrator who will be able to go into any of the screens in the system. At the same time, if there's a user that has been set up in the past, but is no longer supporting the use of ShareRounds or using ShareRounds in their own workflow, or is no longer with the company, they can be marked inactive and saved so that they do not have access to the application anymore. Moving on to the hospital screens, this is where every practice will set up the hospitals where their doctors do rounds. So for example, in here, we have some information on some hospitals that are in Colorado, where we are based. And so just to give the example, right, we have that you would enter the hospital name, a hospital short code that could be used in the drop-downs, a street address, and a hospital phone number. This field also has the ability to be marked inactive in case there is a hospital that was originally where the doctors originally went for rounds and maybe they don't anymore. Next on the list is the billing codes. And so here is where every practice can enter billing codes that are specific to how they name and how they use their names within the practice. So we would have, for example, a billing code number 2 that means something to your practice, and a short code that will appear in the drop-downs, and then a description that's just useful to have internally for reference. And then you would do save and new. Same as in the other screens, anything in here that's not being used anymore can be marked inactive, and then it will disappear from the drop-downs for the physician so that there's no extra information that they don't need. Next, on the diagnosis codes, it's the same format of entering a diagnosis code with a short code for the drop-downs, a description, which could be a full description that is known internally, or any useful information about that code so that everybody understands what it refers to, and then the ability to mark it inactive if it's not being used anymore and it needs to be removed from the dropdowns. So those 4 screens are the main ones for getting the practice set up for use. The additional screen for practice calendar is more for use on a daily or a weekly basis, so that each practice can set up the information of the physician assignments by day of what hospitals there will be rounding at, and then this information becomes available in the dashboard for viewing by any of the users in the system. So to complete a practice calendar, as you can see here, you would select the date, select the hospital, have a physician, and then click on Save and New, and that adds them to the physician assignment for that day. If we go back to the home page real quick, which is your dashboard, you will see that this practice calendar shows the information that I just changed in the previous screen. And that covers the system administration part of the screens for ShareRounds. Another feature of this application is the ability to have support staff back at the office add patients for the physician when the physician's at the hospital. The physician also has the ability to do that themselves on their own screens, but we understand that practices like the flexibility of having either the doctor do it themselves or have support staff fill out the rounding lists at the office. And so here is the screen where that would happen. Let's say we have a list of patients at North Hospital, and we see here that there's 10 patients that have been that are ready for consult at North Hospital, but we have 1 missing. And so we would have to enter the patient information as a support staff in here or billing staff to be able to add them to the list for the doctors. So let's say that we are going to add a patient. We want to enter date of birth. Always location is the room number, and then patient notes would be anything useful to your practice, like a referral of a doctor or anything similar to that. You would click on Save and New, and this patient now becomes available in the drop-downs for the doctors as well on their screens to be able to complete information for that visit. The finally functionality in the management screens is running a billing report. The billing report, of course, will be used by the billing staff to be able to capture the information that was already entered by the physicians. There's 2 ways of going to the billing report. We'll go back to the home screen real quick just so I can point out that button for you. So if a billing team member comes in here and all they need to do is go to the billing report, they can go straight to it from the home screen by clicking in here, which shows the same screen that I just went to before. For any billing report, we would select a start date and an end date, and then click on Run. And this will have all the information that was entered by the physicians for the visits during those days. We have the date of the visit, the name of the hospital, the room number for the patient, the name of the physician who completed the visit, patient name, their date of birth, and then diagnosis and billing codes. And so this will be for the billing department to be able to capture the information they need to perform the actual billing. From here, this report can be either exported to an Excel spreadsheet or printed as a PDF, depending on the needs of the practice. So coming back to the home screen, that covers the different functionality for the management side of ShareRounds. As you can see, this system is simple, but it is also flexible enough to accommodate the different preferences that each practice has regarding what they like to see in the dropdowns. If you have any questions, please contact us by using the customer service page of our website at www.ShareRounds.com. Thank you for your time.